How do I adjust to being a single parent?
Brannon, it's good to see your face today, man.
Hey, you too.
I'm just glad that you survived this weekend down in Las Vegas with all of your old boys.
Well, yeah, just all my friends. It's a good time. It's like, the movie Hangover? It's just that it looks just like that.
I hope not.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm blessed with a bunch of just good friends, good guys. What's crazy about the group that we go with is most of those guys I have known before I can even remember. Isn't that crazy?
Before you can remember
Before I can remember life. Like
not
they've
having them in
been
your life. They've been around
they've
forever.
always been in my life, and they're still my friends today. We still do things today. We even had Burton join us this weekend. And he was like like an extension of our family growing up.
T-Bert, yeah, man.
Wasn't he?
Oh, dude. I remember so many days playing basketball in the backyard with T-Bert, man. It's almost like we had growing up in our neighborhood, it was like we had 5 different houses that were all our own houses with 5 different sets of parents who were all our own parents.
And they didn't know where we were running around. We just run around. How much mac and cheese did Beth make for you?
I had a lot of mac and cheese at Beth Burton's place, and I had I loved going over to the Driggs houses because Diane would make grilled cheeses out of white bread, and at our house, all we had was wheat bread.
Oh, yeah. She used Wonder Bread. She used Wonder Bread. And she would drink Tab.
And she drank a ton of Tab.
She would drink her Tab and make us Wonder Bread grilled cheese. Oh, man. Life was good.
Yeah. Yeah, all those kids. So you basically spend the weekend. I was telling Rhiannon this, I was out on a date with her this weekend, and I was telling her that you were gone to like your trip with your boys, and I said, man, my experience with my friends is much different than your experience or even Rex's experience, because you've had like friends from the beginning. We're talking like kindergarten that have stayed your closest friends all the way through your life. And I've kind of been more like a nomad where I have like clusters, like I have different groups of friends that anywhere I go, I have some friends, but I didn't like stay with the same group all the way through.
Well, what's crazy is that credit goes to Rex, because we go down there and it's kind of like his group of friends merged with our childhood friends. And now they're all just like friends.
Yeah, they
so
came
like,
together.
It's like, yeah, Buck is hanging out with Scott Niederhauser, it makes no sense, but we're all friends. So.
That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it here. We have a guest. Blake is with us today. Blake, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We're really excited to have you, and we'd love to get to know you more, understand your story, give us a little bit of background of what's been going on in your life, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So things changed last year, towards the end of May. Uh well, actually on the last day of May. And from that point there was decisions made based on the situation to part ways. And in that decision that was made, the kids were uh, aligned with me, staying with me, because I'm still in the household that we shared, me and my partner. So the kids decide, that decision was made, and it's been different challenges throughout that period, and aligning myself with the new reality of the kids being with me full time, and having to go through that. You don't really realize what the other person put in until the situation and dynamics changes. So
Mm-hmm.
that's been going on. So I'm trying to filter through that and understand how to be able to play this part as a single father, and also um, be able to support them in anything that may be going on the other side. So yeah.
Mm.
Cool. So you've been separated now since May, so almost not quite a year yet then, if
Right.
I'm hearing that right. How
Mhm.
many kids do you have, and what are their
Two,
ages?
2, 15 and 13, a boy and a girl. Yep.
Okay. So you got some teenagers. That's always a handful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Okay. So is there, you said you have full-time custody of them, or is there like still interaction with or trade-off with your ex-partner?
Um, that's one of the challenges. They have the interaction hasn't been consistent with their mother. But I'm not. I don't take the stance of they can never interact with them or anything like that. I'm take the stance that whatever um, she's available, that she can be with the kids. It's just that the it hasn't been consistent based on stuff that she has going on. So yeah, yeah.
I'm wondering, and I don't, you don't have to, you can divulge as much as you want to, Blake. So I'll ask you some questions and you can say, hey, I'm good. Like, I don't need to,
Mm.
um, I'm just curious more about the way the breakup went down. And the reason I'm curious about that is because I think it kind of informs us going forward as to how you handle it. So yeah, was there,
He's shaking his head, Brannon.
uh, so okay. So I guess I to get the information for you guys to be able to go through it. I guess I can break it down. So there was infidelity um, on my partner's side that occurred, and that's where the decision was made that she was going to go in that direction and not the family direction that we previously had. So yeah, yeah.
so just like you had a 13-year-old and 15-year-old, maybe a 12 and 14-year-old at the time. I don't know, but like
Yes.
you had two teenage kids and like she basically chose a different life and turned her back on them. I'm not trying to get you to talk crap on her. That's not what I'm trying
No,
to.
no, that's
Yeah,
what
that's
that's what we're hearing.
yeah. I didn't want to say that directly, but she made different decisions at that point. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And the reason I'm wondering is because it changes the way you father, you parent, because you're now dealing with not just being a single dad, but you're being a single dad dealing with your own betrayal trauma, your own pain of the separation, your own grief, but also the trauma that your kids are going through is significant. And for you to be a dad to them, it's one thing to just provide and get food on the table, but now there's an added thing for you to, and you can't fix it. You can't take away all their pain. Um, but like you're dealing with a situation that's more complex than just co-parenting. Um, do you understand what I'm saying, Blake?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So
It,
that's it. And I try to. That's why I try to be there for him. But I don't like the way I put things into context is that uh, there's kid things and there's adult things. Um, I don't want to expose them directly to the adult things, even though kids are smart. They're aware of things going on, you know. But I'm trying to be the one that I'm open to conversations. I'm not saying, oh, let's not talk about it or anything like that. But I'm trying to be there for them and support them, let them support their emotions and all that stuff. But I want to walk a fine line because I don't want any disdain, like for the actions that happen towards their mother. That's the way I'm thinking about it, because I don't, and it's not my choice to, if they have that disdain or whatever like that, but I want to be the best, that I'm like, I'm not going to create that environment for them that there's this uh villain. I don't want to create that environment. Yeah.
it's actually really admirable. I can hear it even in the way that you're kind of carefully answering Brandon's questions. I get the sense that there's something inside of you that's really trying to be protective of your kids by not going. I mean, if I'm putting myself in your shoes, behind closed doors, there's probably all sorts of like "f her," I can't believe this, da 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 da.
Don't
Rob,
put those words in his mouth.
I'm saying them. He's not saying them. But then for you to kind of come and say, hey, you know what? Like, I sense that there's a deep commitment to you to wanting to do what's really best for your kids there, and I just want to say that I see that acknowledge that. I honor that. I think too many times the pain of what you're going through with what Brandon and I see day to day with other people, that pain will often knock you off of what's best for the kids and into your own pride. And the fact that you're really wrestling with that says something really good about where your heart's at with this conversation. You're in a rock and a hard spot here because your kids are old enough to not be duped. Like your kids can see the writing on the wall pretty well, right? So you can't blow smoke up their rear ends and tell them it's all rainbows and butterflies and that their mom still chooses them. But you also don't want to be painting their mom in like a villain kind of a way.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a narrow bandwidth that you're trying to walk in allowing things to be real and then being a good influence with your kids as they're real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And I guess I'll share one more thing that kind of makes the situation a little bit more complex. During this period of time, like I said, I'm not, don't want to disrespect their mother or anything like that, because she can make her own decisions on things. But this is where I started to come into a little trouble. Is that I found out that she was pregnant and she just had the child recently. So that's when things started to that dynamic of me being more concerned about the kids, because we had my daughter had a conversation with me, and she was a little bit upset, to just say, and not upset about the child or anything, but she just vocalized that she wasn't a fan of the decision makings that were going on. Um, but I told her that she can come to me. She can come to me to um and discuss anything that she's free to share her emotions and anything like that. But I painted the picture that people make decisions all the time, good, bad, or indifferent. It's about how we learn from those decisions. Just because this decision was made doesn't mean necessarily that their mom is doesn't care for them and love them. But people sometimes make decisions based out of a lot of things. So yeah.
Yeah. Tell me just a little bit about your kids. So, no, you don't have to give like details about their personal life and stuff, but like, what are they like? Are they mature? Are they smart? Are they, do they struggle socially? Do they what are they like?
Well, they're my daughter's very mature, and my son is, I would say, as well. My daughter, she's I would say she's very social. She's very active in um sports and stuff like that. My son is as well. The biggest change that has happened since everything happened was my son became more social out there
Mm-hmm.
during this. Um, and before he wasn't really that much social. But he became more social, had friends, and did things like that. My daughter did go through a situation in her social life that kind of impacted her a little, and but she's still social, outgoing, goes to things and stuff like that. So yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. So, I mean, sounds like pretty high functioning kids,
Mhm.
just being kids, growing up,
Yeah, yeah.
smart, mature for their age, developing well. Um, and the reason I ask this, Blake, is because this will change the way that you handle this situation. There's two things going on here. And you got to hold these two things together, and it's hard. One, you're trying to be a good guy and not throw shade at their mom, who they love, and as their father, that's the right thing to do, and that's a good thing to do. And the truth is, and you might be here now or not, but we can have compassion for her and try to have some understanding for why she made the decisions she made, right? So there's that
Yep.
side of things. The other side of things is the painful reality and you processing and talking and acknowledging the painful reality is actually very important for your children. And so if you're always protecting her, and you said, well, no, we can talk about it and we can process it, but if you're always in that mode of like, we can talk about it, but I'm always kind of protecting her and not wanting to, sound like I'm talking crap on her, what that can do is undermine or invalidate their pain.
Mm.
And so you don't want to go to anger and hatred. You don't want to like spread that in the world, right? But also with your kids who are really, really smart, they know. It's kind of like this. Like, let's say I had cancer and I was dying of cancer, and my wife was taking me to the hospital all the time, and my last days were coming, but I didn't want my kids to know I had cancer because it would be hard for them. It'd be painful for them. And so I smile and I'm like, no, daddy's okay. We're good. And in the meantime, like, I'm withering away and I'm spending all our money on medical bills and all our time at the hospital, and everything's okay. Everything's okay. Everything's okay. Do you see what would happen to my kids in that situation, Blake?
Yeah, there'll be some. I get what you're saying. There needs to be some discernment with how to uh go about the tough conversations, and I don't want the kids to feel like I'm not validating their experience. But I also, this is what I struggle with. So because I grew up as a my mother was a single mother, and I think that's why I took my fatherhood so seriously, because when I was younger I was like, I'm never going to do that, I'm going to be there 100%, that will never happen, and I applied those things into my life, it's that won't happen, I'm going to make a better life for them, because I felt like it wasn't fair to me at that point when I was younger, and it's not fair to them because they didn't make that decision. And the thing that I struggle with the most is like, how can I talk to them and allow that with, and still have this, like you're saying, this I guess it's being protective, but like have a level of like transparency with the kids, that they understand what's going on and they're allowed to express it, because I don't want to that's my biggest thing, I don't want to pit them against the side of.
Right.
So yeah.
So first, I want to just say, Blake, that we need more men like you in this world that take their responsibility and calling as a father as seriously as you do. That's awesome. I'm sad that you've come to that understanding that that's who you want to be through your own life experiences that way. But man, that's awesome that you're stepping into the void here. A couple of thoughts here. You asked the question, there's a personal journey that will help with the second thing. Okay. So in order to be a good influence for your kids, you have to be in a space where you're taking care of yourself emotionally to be the right container for your kids. So there does need to be an outlet for you. Maybe it's a men's group. Like, I think you'd flourish in something like one of the Reclaim Your Heart groups with the men's group, where you could get some support. You could do your own grieving. You could do your own healing journey. You could do your own trauma work. And you could have an outlet to do that internal work so that you're kind of showing up for your kids in the best way possible with the right intentions you're talking about. And then when you're with the kids, I would focus maybe on two things. One is that if it never gets talked about or acknowledged, or it's always like kind of gaslighty, like, no, everything's good, like I'm fine and mom's great, and like, then what there's a tendency to do is the kids start to internalize things, and it becomes almost like a shame-based thing where they're like, they're unimportant to mom now, or they don't measure up, or they somehow are at fault, or something else. So if it never gets talked about, then you run the risk that an adolescent's brain is already so egocentrical that like everything is the whole universe revolves around them. If they fart wrong, it's going to change the whole global warming, like, so like so understanding that, like, I need to make sure that I'm bringing other factors in that would combat this shame. So now they're allowed to be either humiliated or embarrassed or grieving instead of something's wrong with them.
Yeah.
Right. And then your job as a father is to create a safe container for all of the processes of grief. So they might come and be really, really angry and be like, Mom, da 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 da. And you can be like, hold the space for their anger without agreeing that mom's a bitch. Right. But hey, yeah, I can see that you're feeling angry about that. Like, you can always come down to anger, sadness, bargaining, depression, like whatever they're going through in their grieving process. You can always be in that space with them without betraying them or your ex.
I think in a perfect world, Tyler, like I sometimes you might not be able to do that. And like
You're going to be able to do that more often if you're doing your own internal work too.
Right. But I mean, you're a little over half a year past the separation. You need your own process of grief. And I think this is what's really difficult is you're almost swinging the pendulum over to like smiling, being like, no, we love her. She's fine. Everything's okay. You know, like she's doing, but it's like, but deep down there might be this deep seated, like, WTF, you just abandon our freaking kids. Like, seriously, what? So like, if both is going on, then if both is happening, they might need to go get that safe space somewhere other than you.
I agree. So
Right.
I agree, and I am in a men's group. I do go to therapy, so I did take, because as soon as it happened, it was a shocker, like it shocked the system, and I understood at that point. It was like, oh, I need help outside of like just family support and stuff like that, to deal with this, because I grieving a marriage is like grieving a death, so it's I understood that at that point, to and how complex things were. So I did in the beginning, like the stuff you were saying, like, what the heck, I can't believe you're doing all this. Because the marriage was for like, it was for 15 years, so,
Wow.
and we knew each other since high school and stuff. So it was a dramatic change when it came to just me, not alone with the kids, of understanding and processing uh the stuff that was occurring, that was going on. Um, but I do. That's why I reached out, because when I listened to your previous podcast, because I was like, it's starting to get to the part where like I'm worried about the kids, and what you said, that get outside help, because I was like, maybe they won't be comfortable talking directly to me, because they're like, I don't want dad to have a way about this, even though I'm not outwardly expressing like the hurt and stuff by it to them. Um, Kids aren't stupid and then see what's going on, but that's what I was thinking. I was like, I think they may need some, especially my daughter, need some outside help to be able to feel more comfortable with discussing this matter. So yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, not only like, are you jaded here? If you weren't, then that would probably be a problem. Do you understand what I mean? And even if you're not, then you still might be looked at that you are, because you were a part of the whole mix. And
Hmm.
so for your kids, it's like, well, I want to process all of this stuff. And I love what Tyler said. I agree with him. And when you're in that emotional space to both be compassionate, loving toward her, but both be honest with your children, then they definitely need that from you. They
Hmm.
do.
Hmm.
But for a moment, they might need something completely out of the situation, a space where they can just open up, unload, cry, talk, laugh, whatever it is. um, I would highly recommend that you find that. And a really, really good therapist who works well with adolescents would be awesome.
Hmm.
But also, like, maybe it's a friend's parent, or some other a person at church, or someone who can just step up and be like, you know what, like, I'm here for you too. um, and I'm not taking sides, and I can listen. So anything, Tyler, to add to that?
Yeah, Brannon, I was just thinking of an example of that, with my own kids and your wife, actually.
Oh.
A few years ago, Lexi was really struggling with some things on her brain. She actually talked about these things at the Signal Fire that we just did a couple of months ago. And she'd come and she talked to us, both me and my wife, about this stuff. But one day we ended up down at a family dinner, and your wife took like an hour and a half and just sat and listened to Lexi. And after that, Lexi was just like, there was like a marked change in her, like, oh, like I'm understood. Like I'm like, you could almost like see the pressure come out of her physiology, just like, whoa, like, and I was just so grateful that there's a community there. And that's one thing, like, especially as a single parent, this is really, really hard. This is so hard, because you can't absolve yourself of the responsibility, but you also can expand your influence if you help create a community of people around that can help fill in the gaps there. So a lot of times we're talking to like a single woman who's got all of the kids, and there's no like masculinity in the house. And it's like, man, we got to get, church leaders and coaches and teachers and activities, and like, let's build a platform of other really good adults that it can be support, validation, empathy, and mentorship. Right? It's like, think about how, Brandon, think about Rex, like how much mom and dad might say something to him as a kid and he'd go do the opposite, and then someone like Tom Walk would say the exact same things, and all of a sudden Rex would be like, oh yeah, Tom Walk's the man, dude, I'm gonna listen to him.
Yeah. Yep.
And so it might not just be therapy, like you said. It's more of like, what are the resources that you already have in your current relationships, and then what are the other community places that maybe I need to spend a little bit more time and energy cultivating the right opportunities for my kids to get that extra support.
Yep. Another thing, Blake, did you have something to say? I don't want to cut you off.
No, I agree. I was going to say, it sounds a little bit messed up. I don't know if it's from my end. You guys, it was a little bit, I still heard him, but it was a little bit scratchy.
So, yeah, I can't hear you very well, Blake. Can you hear him, Tyler?
There was something kind of broke up there for a second, like the mic got moved, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It got kind of robot-y a little bit.
Yeah, that's how it sounds. Yeah, that's how it.
I was gonna add something here. Oh yeah, I was gonna say this. I hope you can understand me, Blake. Can't hear me very well. No.
Blake, why don't you just do, I think it's your sound, do a quick disconnection and come right back in here, and Brannon and I will just talk for a second while you connect. So
Tyler, what I was going to say is, one thing about this to understand is these kids, what they're going to have to process, they're going to have to untangle for a while, and they'll go through a process with it. And so there will be moments where they can really open up to him, talk to him. Sorry, he keeps trying to log on. His audio is not working very well. There's moments where they'll open up to him, but we're talking about like a long process. When a child gets abandoned by a parent, we're talking about a long process. I work with people in their 40s that are still processing and figuring out their childhood trauma. And I'm not saying these kids' lives are screwed, and they can't live productive lives. But at the same time, I hope that Blake understands that he can't fix this for them with a snap of his fingers. And I think what that means for him is that he, like when his kids look back and they look back on the whole situation, what do you want your kids to think and say about you? Right.
Well, and even that is like, there's even a deeper question that I think, if he's in the right space as a parent, is it's not even what they think about him. He's like, how did I best influence the best outcomes for my kids?
Exactly.
doesn't
So
matter what they think of me. It's like, how did I do my best to give them the best chance?
right. So when they're the 45-year-old doing the EMDR in the therapist's office, figuring this out, they look back and they say, you know what? Dad was always there for me. Dad was safe. He was patient. He was compassionate and forgiving. And he created a safe space for us to be able to process through this. And I'm grateful for him. So I guess what I'm saying is to let go of the expectation that you can take this pain from them, to then focus on um, like becoming the best version of yourself so that you can create that safe space so that they can process this and work through this for a long, long time. And then look back and say, Dad loved me through this really painful, difficult thing that we went through.
I love that. I think that's the idea is, and I think I get the energy from Blake that he's on this podcast asking that question specifically. Is he's not pretending that he's going to fix everything. And Blake, we've got you back now. Brannon was just saying that he's hoping you'll see this as, like with kids, this is going to be a long game rather than a short game. And so the long game, being there in the gaps of the long game, is going to be more important than being a quick fix.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's my thought about it. It's just like dealing with these new experiences. And I that's why I understood how my childhood was, it wasn't um the worst, but it wasn't the best. I did have a grandfather that was very supportive of me in that aspect of that masculine figure, but it was never like my dad. And then when I would interact with other people, I would be like, oh, they got their dad and stuff like that. That's so
Sure.
when I think about it, I'm just like, I can see uh I don't like I want to prevent any issues from coming up in the future, because right now, if I would just like, I'm just gonna keep the steady pace. My the reason why I reached out, because I have I guess it's a fear of mine that if I do allow them to say anything, and I may say something that may be discouraging to the other person, but not trying to, but it's just it's the reality of it. But I do take accountability in my faults, because it takes two to tangle. It wasn't just that caused that issue, even though that was the main factor. There's still things that I had that could have played a part in that. So I don't want to my worry is, and the fear is like, if I say something discouraging, then I'm basically going to start this thing of pitting people on two different sides, mother, father. I don't want that to happen. And I want to go back to the point that I think it was Tyler said, and it may have been both of you, of the community. So I have faith, I have faith in Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. But I don't have that community now. And we previously, as a family, did have a church that we went to, that we no longer go to, based on the certain situation. So looking for that community has been a struggle for me, because I did have this expectation in my mind, and I'm being honest, is that since I knew my partner knew my family very well, and I know her family very well, and there was people in her family that I looked up to as my father figure, and grandparent, and so on and so forth. But it seems like it's a turn. It took a turn, and I understand why it took a turn. It's because people want to support their side, so, but I went into with a false expectation. I can say it now, that even though this is happening, we're still going to have this community to support the children based on past experiences.
Mhm.
But that was me just hoping for the best, hoping for the best.
Sure, of course.
So, but unfortunately, it seems like it's trending towards a different path for some. Well, I know for what reasons, because they want to support their family member. Just like my family wants to support me, they want to support them, um, both ways. So yeah, yeah.
I, I think Blake, we just got a comment, and there's something about this comment that I want to highlight here. He says, be painfully awkward, transparent with your kids. They may not see or appreciate it in the moment, but they will. Admit you don't have an instant answer to every question, but offer to work it out. The part in that comment that I think is really important is you want to prevent future stuff in the future, right? And everything you just talked about, like the fallout of betrayal, there's consequences to it that we can't really like even quantify. And so for you as a father, I want you to think about, you're not just about prevention, you're also about, let's call it treatment.
Process.
So yeah, when your daughter's going to get ready for prom and mom's not there, and she's depressed and sad and pissed off, you can't prevent that. I'm just making something up here.
That's coming, though. That's going to come.
So back to this comment, I think one of the best things you can do is to say, look, I don't know why this happened. I don't have the answers, and I'm sitting right here with you in the pain of it. And just know that you're loved because I'm here with you. That's sitting in it with them as they process through this.
I'd even go a step further, Brannon, and say, that like Blake's all worried about, well, if I say this, then it's going to kick off this thing or whatever else. And I'd say even just being an example of being a work in progress is already being a great dad. So maybe you do catch yourself and you say something disparaging and you're like, oh man, in the aftermath, you're like, oh, I didn't mean to say that. I shouldn't have said that. Like, as soon as you go get grounded again, that's a golden opportunity to go back to your kids and show some accountability, some humility, some recommitment, and say, hey, look, I'm really hurting here. And I said this, and it doesn't change that I'm hurting, but I don't want to say those kinds of things. I'm sorry. I'm going to work on that. Like the kids will appreciate the humanity and the process if it's done somewhat openly. You don't need to go share all the details of the dark stuff. That's your group's work. But when they see some accountability, when they see some real humanity, and when they have you sit next down to her and she's getting ready for prom and you have to have somebody else come over to help get her makeup and hair properly because she won't let you touch it. At least my daughters won't, because all I can do is ponytails. Like, like it's going to be okay to just call that out and be like, yeah, that's kind of sucks. And it's going to be okay. And here's what we're doing about it. Like, you know,
when he's talking about losing people in his life,
by the way, that sucks for Blake. Wow. There's nothing wrong with him wanting to have kept some of those connections, even though it might have been a little maybe not realistic, but it's okay. Like that sucks for him. That's all part of the grieving process, is you lose all sorts of other stuff that you didn't intend to lose.
Yeah. Blake, we're going to just mute you, just listen in for a minute because the audio is so bad. But you can hear us. Can you understand us? Maybe. Yeah. I think it sucks. The audio is bad, but I think we're all feeling, and I know our audience is feeling like, I'm feeling like, man, I want to be a dad like Blake. And my heart goes out to you. The loss that you have when losing those relationships is no small thing. Having those connections to her family and having things change like that's unfair, and that sucks. And you're battling through this the best that you can, and you're focused on them. Like for you to come on our show and ask the question that you asked, considering what you've just been through, says something about your character.
Amen.
Right. And I hope that you can pause and be like, look, I gotta like taking care of me and taking care of my emotions, and it is very important. And you can lose yourself in worrying about them, and maybe that's even a good distraction. but to stop and be like, I got my betrayal trauma. I'm going to do my recovery work. I'm going to get my heart at peace with her fully. And I don't feel like your heart's totally out of peace. Doesn't seem that way. But it's important for you to stop and really love yourself and take care of yourself. It's one of the best things you can do for them.
Work it on this process for yourself.
Yeah,
because you're going through a lot of the same feelings over different topics that your kids are going to go through, and if you diminish that experience, you're not actually partaking of some of the medicine that will actually help you to empathize with your kids when they're in a really rough time. And so I hear that you're trying to do that, and I commend you on that as well. But yeah, you are. It's like one of my favorite movies is Kung Fu Panda, and I love when he gets the dragon scroll and he finally like opens it up, and all it is like this reflection of himself. And he's like worked so hard to get the dragon scroll because it's got the miracle of like what it means to be the dragon warrior. And then he finally dawns on him after he stares at it for a second. And what does he say? He's like, there is no secret ingredient. Like, you know what the secret ingredient is you being you for the long haul with your kids. And you're in a tumultuous time right now, but you're going to heal. You're going to support your kids while they go through a process of healing. You're going to keep building a life. You're going to have to burn off some of the stuff that's not going to support you anymore. And you're going to have to replace it with new growth, which is going to suck and be hard. But you're going to find the right community. You're going to find the right church. You're going to find the right coaches. You're going to find, and Blake, eventually you're going to find another woman, and your life's going to continue to go onward.
Maybe.
if he doesn't find another woman, that's like a travesty to the world, because there's not very many good men out there that are like willing to step into this kind of stuff. So, but no, but you don't see that big picture sometimes when you're in the thick of like the crisis that you've been in for a while. And so even me saying that might even sound a little disingenuous, but that's the truth. That's what's going to happen. And your kids will go through a process. And in that process, they will either incur more shame and trauma, or they will be taught how to grieve and become more resilient, maybe a little bit of both. And you're going to be there for them no matter what.
Yeah, I think people are resilient, and Blake, you're resilient. Kids are so resilient. It's crazy how they bounce back. They're not as resilient as dogs. I tell you, dogs can get like yelled at and this and that, and they still love no matter what. But kids are freaking resilient. And Blake, you're resilient. And I just think about right now I'm thinking about our little brother and his situation, and his wife. His wife went through something really similar to what you're going through. And I don't think she ever really envisioned that a man like our brother would come into her life and become not just like the best stepdad ever, like an incredible father figure for her children. Just like so involved, so connected, so loving. And but at the time of the crisis of the divorce and the abandonment and all of that, she couldn't have envisioned what life would have been like down the road. And so we don't know what's to come for you, Blake. Maybe, like Tyler said, there's another woman out there. Maybe you don't want that. He can't talk. So
I'm gonna turn it over to him to try one more time in just a second. So,
but I believe this, and I'm going to say this: God knows what you need, and when you step into your truth and you make decisions out of love, when you operate from that place of love, you're going to get exactly what you need, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be beautiful for your kids too. Now, how that looks, we don't know. That's called faith. So I believe if you operate in faith, you're going to be loved, you're going to get exactly what you need, and you're going to be okay. And just I can tell with your attitude and who you are as a human, you're going to be okay. So
let's I'm going to ask you to try to unmute yourself one more time, Blake. And is it not working at all? Dang it. I wanted to hear from you what's going through you. I can see your body language. I can see that you're kind of ingesting some of the things that are being said. And I just wanted to give you a chance to have a voice if you could. But it's
you know what? We're gonna have to invite him back on. He's got to come back on for another episode.
We're gonna have to have Blake come back on sometime. Like check back in with us in a couple of months and let's see where you guys are at in the process. But yeah, man. Thank you, Blake, for your willingness to come on today. Thank you to our listeners who are here live with us and who put some comments out there today too. Thank you,
Tyler. Can I do something a little different? I want to ask you, you always stop and ask people like, what's going through you right now, or how are you feeling right now? I want to ask you, Tyler. Let's go as we've done this episode with the audio problems, with talking to Blake, with everything. What's going through you right now?
I actually want more Blake in my life. You know, like that old skit, like Saturday Night Live. We need more cowbell. The world needs more Blake. Actually, yeah. I'm having a mixed emotion here, Brannon. I'm feeling a ton of love and gratitude for Blake and for what he's trying to do, and for so many people who are in a very similar situation. And I'm feeling the heaviness, the magnitude of that situation. I am having this like mix of love, gratitude, and the weight of just hard stuff. And that's kind of what's pressing on my heart right now. Yeah. And I imagine it's probably pressing on other people who are listening too. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing for us to chew on and think about and to try to learn how to support each other through these hard things that life offer.
Yeah, I think if for anything, Blake, you coming on the show and struggling through the audio and whatever, but to have a collective number of people be sending you love and appreciation and gratitude for the man that you are. You might not know those people, but their energy is directed toward you and supporting you through all of this. And I feel the same as Tyler. So we got your back. However we can help you, we'll help you all the way. And just really appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks to our listeners who are here. If this is meaningful to you, or you know someone in your life who would benefit from this, please share. And until next time, keep on keeping on.